Hi, this is Randy Altman with postPerspective. We're here at NAB 2017. It's day 3. And I've got Chris Healer from The Molecule, which is a visual effects house that's based in New York. Do you have an office in LA as well?
We do.
You do?
We do.
So you do some pretty high-end visual effects for big-time TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to maybe just jump in and explain a little bit about your studio and some of the shows that you've contributed to?
Sure. We've got about 80 or 90 employees in New York. We've got about 10 in LA. We're doing a lot of work with Ballers right now, The Americans, The Path, 7 Seconds. We have probably about 20 TV shows right now that we're working on. So
spread across both studios.
Spread across both studios. So
Okay.
which has been an interesting development because I think that the new LA tax credit has really shifted the dynamic around quite a bit. So we've thought quite a bit about what we want to do with the LA office and the shape of that thing. So me and my 2 partners were very much New York based, but you can't ignore LA. You got to respect LA.
That's right. And for a while, I mean, New York is still chock full of productions going on. I mean, the incentives help that. Are most of your shows, at least East Coast, shot?
Probably about half.
Okay.
So we were shooting in Miami, we're shooting in LA, we actually did a sequence in Silicon Valley just recently for Ballers. So it's kind of all over. You can't quite consolidate it all into one city.
Right. Now, do you go on set for some of these, or have others go on set to make sure that it's all sort of...
I personally have spent thousands of hours on set. However, that's not my role anymore, so it's shifted a certain amount. We're very blessed to have great VFX on-set supervisors. I think we have 7 on-set supervisors right now, so we're doing pretty well.
Seems so, yeah. There's some great shows. But I also want, because recently you guys sort of embraced virtual reality as well. Can you talk a bit about that, and also where you think VR is going? I mean, the workflows, it's kind of the wild, wild west. How have you figured out the right way to go about it?
What I think is interesting about VR is that there does seem to be a collective consciousness about it, where at first it was, what camera are you using and how are you stitching it?
Yeah.
And now it's shifted one step more to where it's, are you using depth? Are you doing interactive? Are you building apps around it? Are you, like, especially for someone like us, where we're very skilled at doing the video part of things, and we also do apps. So you join those 2 together, you have something really interesting. I think that's where the industry is at right now, is like, well, it's not quite good enough to just stitch video. It's not quite good enough to just have the render power and the frame rates and the disk size and all that stuff. I think we're at a place where people are... So just let me back up for a second. We generally work in entertainment, but what I'm finding is that there's a lot of other interesting avenues that are out there in the world. So for instance, like education, safety, I don't know why, construction work is coming up, government contracts, things like that are perhaps more compelling than the plain old entertainment industry. So we have this skill, and we're like leveraging it into a new space with VR.
Do you think that those other segments might help drive the M&E part of the business?
Well, I think it still has to find itself. It's close.
Okay.
And I had the same conversation about stereoscopic and the same, However, I think that VR has a lot more teeth than stereoscopic ever did, and it's going to find itself. So, I mean, I think for instance, Mark Zuckerberg talking about social media in a VR space, that's fascinating. That has some teeth to it.
Yeah.
I think that new developments with education and with, like, you have this conjoinment of here's readily able groups who can produce media, and then you have consumers who are wanting to watch VR. They're not necessarily going to watch VR all day long. They might watch it for 5 or 10 minutes,
Right.
or 20 minutes, or an hour. But I mean, if I could call my mom right now, for instance, in VR, I would do it.
And you'd be
Because
sort of in
that's
a shared space.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. So
that
I
is
think,
compelling. That's pretty cool.
I think that that's where we all want to get to. Everyone's like, AR is the holy grail, which it probably is, but I still think we're on the order of 4 or 5 years away from that. There's a lot to figure out. I mean, I value what we learned in the stereoscopic process a lot. Like, it really challenged us as a company to figure out, how do you work with two eyes? What tool sets do you need to do it? How do you deal with file sizes? How do you deal with talking to an artist and trying to explain to an artist, how do you work with a left and right eye? Like, it's not a traditional workflow at all.
Right, yeah.
So it just one step more is working in lat-long spherical space. But it's just one step more. So I mean, there's this collective knowledge that we're gaining, which I really appreciate. So we'll see what happens with the AR, but I'm not waiting for AR. I'm doing VR right now.
Right, and because there's 360 video, there's AR, there's VR, and I've asked people, I said, which one do you think is going to be the one that sort of leads the pack eventually? But it's not like you can just stop doing the others until that finds its way to the top. It's
No,
like
I mean, there's no like side exit. The way out is the way through. We have to figure it out.
Right.
And I think we're all doing it together, which I really enjoy, because I've had some of the nerdiest conversations I've ever had with anyone very recently, just talking about VR stuff, and it's surprising where everyone's mind goes. So I just personally am obsessed with this idea of a 1 meter cube of playable, depth-based video stuff. I think that's just a really interesting idea.
Right.
So I couldn't necessarily like look under the table or see inside your shoes or anything like that, but I could dodge a bullet, right, if it was like an action sequence.
Sure.
Or I could lean over the mountain if I was on an Everest experience. So there's a lot of stuff you can do, and it's transmittable over existing internet connections, which I think is pretty cool. And then what's really nice about it is that if that concept failed back, because you want graceful failure is a very important part of technology, right? The graceful failure would be, it's just a plain old 360 video, which is a pretty good place to be.
Sure.
Just from an engineering standpoint. So, so that's just my thing. But I know people are thinking about so many different ideas right now. Like, I saw a company in Santa Monica that was attaching mobile devices to VR trackers, and they could like run around a room and shoot each other, which is pretty cool, because it's VR without the headset, but it's still VR. So I think where we're at right now is to go back to my thesis, the collective conscience says we started with 360 video, now we're trying to expand the boundaries, and I think there's a great desire to have VR without the headset.
Yes.
And to figure out how do you track things in a space and make it compelling and interesting, but casual as well. Like, you don't want to suit up.
No.
You just want to walk in and do it.
No, it's true. It's very true. We could talk about this all day. I truly can, because I'm sort of fascinated with the whole process. But why don't we point people to where they could see some of your work? Where can they find some projects that you guys have done?
So we've just posted a new website, which is still themolecule.com. But within the website, you'll find an XD section, as well as our reel, which I think is tremendous, and the motion graphics reel is also really well done stuff, if I can say so. But I think looking in the XD department is pretty fascinating, because we're going to see probably within the next year that whole section of our website is going to fundamentally change, because right now it's a lot of like sales tools. But see, what's annoying is like you work on projects and then you can only release the marketing materials about them like months later.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like what we've got cooking right now is tremendous, but I can't show it to anyone yet.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, I felt that frustration as well, so I get it. But, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I know NAB is just a behemoth of a show, and thank you for taking the time, Chris.
Thank you.